Good morning, evening, afternoon, I'm tatocat and welcome to my channel. Today we are playing Lucid9. Happy ending VOD. Not VOD, mod. Before I start playing and stuff, I'd like to apologize if anybody sent me any messages and I haven't responded to, even though I'm aware that not everybody who sent those messages are watching this video. But if you are, I apologize. It appears that none of my notifications from either YouTube or Discord have been working. I don't know why. I haven't been using my main computer. I've been using other computers and my phone and the iPad. So, yes. But, yeah, back to recording stuff. I miss recording. Things keep getting busy, then I can't record shit. It annoys me. I make plans, and they don't go right. But yes, I'm very happy to return back to this. I believe we left off. We just told Akira to tell everybody that we couldn't, that we would be leaving because Natsuki, something like that, has given us the option to get out of town before someone comes to do the unhappy ending, and hopefully it will be a happy ending. I know Spartancupcake said it's a happy ending, but I've been too traumatized to believe in anything anymore. So yeah, we told her that. She told us never contact her again, and we're moving on. We're seeing what happens. Don't contact her again. Out of the blue? But why not? Yes, this again. Okay. Did I say something to offend her? Or maybe it was some kind of elaborate joke or reference. No. I get the feeling that she was serious. Maybe more serious than she's ever been. I just don't understand. Every time I get a little bit closer to uncovering that mind of hers, it feels like she only drifts further and further away. Every time I return back to this game, I forget how much Yama just makes me want to facepalm. You know? Well, I guess moping about it won't do any good. I walk away, heading back to my apartment to finish securing my belongings. Merry churning of the river fades into the distance. Now, I hope I'm packing this. I can't leave without my knockoff KFC doll or any other plushie I have. It doesn't take long for me to collect everything I'd like to bring with me to Seto, and even less time to lazily shove it into my suitcase. Aside from the typical household items to keep me comfortable while I suffer my way through life, I rarely ever cared about owning anything of value. Because of that, my luggage is mostly clothes and books, my laptop in there along with my AR headset and some report cards that I'll probably just throw away. I also can't forget the 3 giant plushies Rui got me when I moved back to Isamu. I hope this is one of them. I haven't touched them since, but I got them from Rui. It'd be a crime to not make room for them. But I don't know why you had to put those in your suitcase. Pretty sure you could put those in a different bag. I mean, I guess if there's room in your suitcase, sure. I guess they squish down. For that, it looks like I'll need to move some things into my other suitcase. As for the plastic plant by my window, Phil. Ah, yes, Phil! I remember. I think I remember Phil. That was the, didn't what's his face give that to us? Or I could be imagining that. I believe that really happened. Also, we can't forget Phil. I know a bad person gave it to us, but I feel like the person we received it from was the person that imagined him to be, like, an idol. Like, he symbolized something else, you know? Like, you don't know how your idol that you fan over and whatnot really is. You like the thing that they symbolize. You don't really know the real them. Some of them are very genuine and are who they really are, but you know, there's like a business side of things and you can't really know them. So like, you know, keep the symbolization of the person that you thought he was. Not the person he actually was. Like, at the time he gave that to you, it was from a person who gave you real advice. And it wasn't the broken person, it was a different person. So I'd say keep it. Unless you're genuinely traumatized by it, then throw it away. I think its name was. Things have happened since I got it that made me hesitant to take it with me. It was a gift from someone I trusted and respected, someone who was wise and gave genuine helpful advice. But then, he betrayed me. He betrayed Rui, along with everyone else who believed in him. The Jiro Ryota I trusted and respected is gone, if he even existed at all. If he did exist, this is all I have of him. And how appropriate that it's something fake and inoffensive. That's a burn right there. I heard that soldiers sometimes return to old battlefield grounds after they become places of peace. They take in the sights of civilization and nature returned. And they remind themselves that it's over. It might not get rid of the trauma, but it's helpful to know that old wounds have started healing, even if it feels like they're bleeding in every quiet moment. When people are gone, the way we remember them is more important than who they actually were. And that's why Phil is coming back with me to Seto. Yay, Phil! I can't ignore what Ryota did, but I will remember that he was once a decent man, or at very least a man who helped me. It was obvious that he was in pain, and that because his pain never stopped, he turned into something terrible. No one was there to help him, so he inflicted that pain on us, hoping that it would distract him from his own. I can't go back to where the academy once was in 10 or 20 years and see the real plants growing there, not unless Isamu somehow shrinks. What I can do is look at this fake plant. Think about the real ones growing through its bloodied rubble and try to remind myself that it's over. I'll tell myself that there are people who can help me and that I won't leave them behind like I left everyone else behind. And maybe, just maybe, it'll get easier. No. There's no point in thinking it'll ever get easier. If anything, the pain will just get worse, but the only thing I can do now is live with it until I finally stop caring. Yeah, sometimes that is a thing. A lot of people say, oh, time heals all wounds. Sometimes it doesn't really heal. Sometimes you just kind of get used to the pain, which is a dark way of seeing things, but it is a realistic way of seeing things. Time does not heal everything. There are some scars that just don't cure. They don't heal. Not completely. Or I can just die like I should have died all those years ago. I can't remember how I made him talk. Maybe you shouldn't be asking why your friends love you, Yama. Maybe you should be looking for ways to return that love instead of looking for ways to deserve it. I used to be able to count the number of friends I had on one hand. Just as I thought I finally had more, I chose to abandon nearly all of them. I've seen terrible things, I've done terrible things I'll never fully recover from to people who are even less likely to recover from what I did to them. Even so, I've had time to think, and I've decided to live. Not because I want to, or even because I deserve to, but because I have someone I need to live for. I always did. I want to return Rui's love, even if it's the wrong kind of love. I can't do that if I'm dead. I wait an hour for Rui's call, and then 2. It doesn't come. However, just as I'm about to start seriously worrying about her, hello? Hey, Yama, you okay? Yeah, I was just packing my things. You ready to go? Not really. Doubt it matters though. I'm sending you an address for Limney Skate parking garage. One way in, one way out, and security cameras everywhere. I'm already here, so our mom and dad meet us on the first level down and we can get out of here. Limney Skate parking garage, first level down. Got it. I'll meet you there. It seems like it's a busy day outside. I apologize if you hear all the ambulances and sirens and wee-woos. I board the nearest bus and head straight to the parking garage. It's steep in District 5, only a few hundred feet from Limney Skate's headquarters. That is, if it isn't part of it already. As soon as I reach first level, I see 2 massive security guards clad in black suits, each with mirror shades and an earpiece. And if that wasn't enough, they both seem to be armed with some machine guns. It's extremely illegal, but somehow I doubt Limney Skate cares about that. Even if they do care about legality for some reason, I don't. All I care about now is getting out of here alive. The 2 guards lead me to an armored vehicle parked nearby, which I waste no time climbing into, let's try that again. The 2 guards lead me to an armored vehicle parked nearby, which wastes no time climbing into, shutting and locking the door behind me for good measure. To my surprise, the interior is both spacious and extremely well decorated. There's leather seats, a hand-woven carpet, even a mini fridge, and a working chandelier. Why does a tank, armored vehicle need a chandelier? Why does a car need a chandelier? I know I'm a short person and I'm very unlikely to hit my head on things that are dangling from a ceiling, but I would still be concerned that I'd smack my head on a chandelier. It just seems too excessive. Like, why is that a thing? It seems like a hazard, if anything. But sure, have a chandelier. But where's Rui? I can't see her or her parents anywhere. This is definitely her. Not Rui. You know. Our lovable Jester. Not Jester. Wild card. Our rogue. Hello again, Yama Ishimoto. Natsuki. Did you miss me? The vehicle begins moving long before I can even react to Natsuki's presence. Don't worry. Rui and her parents are safe, likely halfway to Seto by now. We assign each of them into different vehicles departing at different times from different locations in order to make things difficult for the competition, let's call them. I gave Rui specific instructions to feed you false information. That way anyone listening on your conversation would think you are all in the same place. Is there a reason you put me on the vehicle they're most likely to hit? Entertainment, of course. My assistance comes at a price, and your reactions to unexpected events are the best I've seen in years. I have a hard time believing my reactions are worthy of a 3-hour drive for 4 armored vehicles. Actually, there are 12. 8 are decoys, you see. That doesn't really explain. I mean, won't they know how to spot the empty ones? Who said they were empty? This class of vehicle is quite versatile. If we want to carry VIPs, we take out the cargo and install a cabin like this one. If we want to carry cargo, we do the opposite. Right now, those 8 decoys are loaded to capacity with recon drones for the JSDF base just outside Seto. The very same drones we use to make sure that all of you arrived at your departure points safely. The cargo isn't part of the deception, though. We simply have a delivery schedule to keep. What's about the rest of your price? It's nothing you need to concern yourself with. Just do something heartwarming the next time you speak to that bumbling little future girlfriend of yours, and the rest will come naturally. Speaking of, could you remove the tape covering your phone camera and place it somewhere in her bedroom? I want to see what happens after this Why? Natsuki, no! Natsuki, we are children. You can't do that. I want to see what happens after this remarkably well-delayed confession of her. I don't even know where to begin pointing out how wrong that would be. I just started, Yama. You take the wheel. You can do it. A joke. As I said before, your reactions are quite enjoyable. Really? That was a joke? It could have well been one. But if that joke was made by Natsuki, I'm just going to assume that she was trying to mess with me and leave it at that. You don't have to do that. But you do have to settle for me as your travel companion today. If I left you alone, you'd no doubt find a way to endanger both yourself and the upholstery. And upholstery is an expensive thing to replace. Fair enough. Thanks for sitting as far away from me as possible. And thank you for being so accommodating. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. On the surface, the offer sounds agreeable, But ever since yesterday, she hasn't stopped staring at me with those cold, furious eyes. You know what? As she keeps looking at me like that, I think I will hesitate to ask. Something tells me this is going to be a very long and very uncomfortable trip. Why? You have a chandelier. 2.5 hours pass by without incident. That is until we encounter a military checkpoint blocking the single road leading into Seto and the nearby JSDF base. Huh. Looks like a show of force by the national government. Isamu always been a problematic city for them, so I can't say they didn't have it coming. Still, what would something like this accomplish? The main highway is completely untouched. People can come and go as they please, and there's a military base right there. Unless this isn't about Isamu. After watching me motionlessly for the past, I don't even know anymore, Natsuki simply tilts her head to the side and smiles as they let us through, not even bothering to conduct an inspection. Even as I try my best to conceal my dread, I still end up shuddering. We might be allies for the time being, but it still unnerves me to think about how far her sphere of influence might extend. With any luck, I'll never know, and with any more luck, I'll never need to see her again. We're here. Get out. Got it, getting out. Good. I stand up, suitcase in tow. The door unlocks and opens itself as I approach, saving me considerable amount of time. Oh, one more thing. If you have a problem, don't bother reporting it. We'll already know what it is. Will you help? I wonder. And with that, Natsuki's gone. And hopefully, she's gone forever. I still got plenty of unanswered questions, but like the dead, I think it's best to let them rest in peace. When you drive along Isamu main highway and you keep driving until you're past the city limits, you eventually reach a much calmer, emptier place. Past the city lights that drown out the sky and the neighborhoods that only exist to sell bigger and better houses, rolling foothills, and terraced crop fields dominate the landscape. The skies are blue and open, free of office towers casting baleful shadows, and the Rainbow River is little more than a creek flowing from nearby lakes, with water somehow clean enough to not burn your eyes. Finally, 3 hours away from the very edge of Isamu, you get to a small farming town in a gently sloping valley, where none of its suffering, pollution, and violence seems to matter. It was in this town 9 years ago that I met a certain girl with orange hair. She had a sharp tongue, threw a good punch, but most importantly, she helped me forgive myself for still being alive. It may have taken me 4 years to get there. It may have taken me 4 years to get here, but I'm finally back. Seto. At some point in the past, this town was named for being where its river ran quickly. Considering how well I tend to do in rivers, I'm thankful this one has slowed down a little. I'm nervous enough as it is with it being nicknamed Spirits Creek. Constant erosion has worn it down to a wide, relatively shallow stream, surrounded by bamboo groves. Constant erosion has worn it down to a wide, relatively shallow stream surrounded by bamboo groves, rolling floodplains in the bank of smooth stones. When I first moved here, I learned that it was prone to flowing too quickly, wearing the ground thin and then drying out for months at a time. It could have dried out forever if it wasn't for the people of Seto. Every year, they'd plant grasses and trees, grinding stones into the riverbed to protect it from further erosion. Eventually, the river was built up enough that it could flow year-round, but the townspeople didn't forget what it took, and they were always there to keep it whole. I always liked this river. Unlike the one in Isamu, it never seemed hungry or cruel. Its only flaw was that it needed help. The townspeople protected the river, and thanks to them, it's still here. Unfortunately, the town itself wasn't as fortunate. Before the recession, Seto was home to 100,000 people. Today, only 6,000 of them are left. Like the many other small towns victimized by Isamu's constant prosperity, it was outcompeted until it became obscure and impoverished, and barely worth living in. Out here, jobs are in shorter supply today than they ever were. Even so, the food is fresh, the air is clean, and once I look up and see the stars for the first time in years. I'll know I've reached a place where I know I've reached a place where I'm everything I need to be. Yama! Oh, this now? Rui, you're in the way. I can't see the town, Rui. Rui, move. Move your body. Get the stars out of your eyes and duck. Rui drops her suitcase and charges at me head on as soon as I get out of the transport, throwing her arms around me with staggering force. Aha! She moved. And this is very pretty. This is kind of how I thought it'd be. I feel like Silent Hill Elf could take place here. The shaking, twitchy hug as she pulls me into rapidly alternates between feather duster and starving alligator in terms of strength, but I don't dislike it. In fact, I think I want more. I can imagine it. It was considerate of her to give me a few seconds to react. Otherwise, I probably would not have taken... It was considerate of her to give me a few seconds to react. Otherwise, I probably would have taken off like I was still in track or flipped all 95 pounds of her into the drops. For the past 3 months, I've been on a hair trigger, so ready to crack that one glimpse of the wrong thing would have sent my crumbling limbic system into overdrive. I've had to hide my condition, but Rui had to hide hers and set an example for what sanity looked like, initially from out of a wheelchair. As soon as she touched me, she rests her head against my chest and starts laughing and crying simultaneously, red-faced and hyperventilating in a total blissful frenzy. It probably doesn't help that we're running out of beta blockers either. Yeah. Even after starving myself to make sure I couldn't hurt anyone ever again, I'm afraid I'll injure her if I hug her back at full strength. So, while she sputters like a jammed printer, I resolve to simply stroke her hair, holding her in my arms like she's made of glass. It's not like I need to speak to tell her how I feel anyway. She knows that it's going to be okay, that we're finally home, and most of all, that I'll do my best to protect her. I'm already very excited because I know I'm shaking my desk like crazy. Because I know I'm at the point where like this is the mod. This is all written by Spartancupcake, and this is the thing. And I know that's kind of started when we got in the vehicle, but this is where it starts. Did I read that line? She knows that it's going to be okay, that we're finally home, and most of all, that I'll do my best to protect her. Even if it means I have to keep myself alive a little longer. I pull Rui closer, trying to calm her down, just like she's calmed me down so many times before. My parents aren't here to greet me, but I don't hold it against them. It'll take time for us to act like a real family again. Rui's parents, however, are here, and they've been polite enough to watch from a distance without getting involved. Aunt Naomi smiles as if her entire life had been leading up to this moment, weeping silently tears of joy into a silk handkerchief. Either she has no idea how injured Rui's mind truly is, or she has every idea and is just relieved that her daughter is finally breaking from her cycle of agony. Uncle Mamoru looks like he's trying not to cry in front of his wife and daughter, but he's also staring into the distance. His vacant eyes, glassy and ragged, give the impression of a man who's lost something forever, but he forces a smile and gives me a thumbs up. Or was that for Rui? Either way, both of them seem to approve. I just hope they'll continue to once Rui hits me with the conversation I've been dreading for a decade. Moving back into my old house is surprisingly easy, even if all I can do is smile and nod when I see my parents' faces for the first time in years. After making it through the first night without dying or getting mysteriously punished for the sake of some grand plan, I asked Rui again if there was something she wanted to talk about before we got here. I'm expecting some sort of unsubtle, panicked overreaction and excuse that makes somehow even less sense than the last, but she simply brushes, kissing me on the cheek, and asks me to wait a little longer. Like me, she's still shaking from having to ration her beta blockers, but not having to tiptoe around me or hide her mental instability from the doctors seems to have helped her a lot. Fortunately, the only doctors left in Seto are her own parents, who are currently helping local nurses set up a walk-in clinic / homeless shelter in their house after realizing they took out a subprime mortgage loan to buy said house, which now has no furniture whatsoever in it. Also, no electricity or running water. Thank you, Natsuki, for that little surprise. Very go to hell of you. At the very least, it Looks like it's been empty for a while, so I doubt anyone got evicted for our sake. Considering how they don't know anyone else here well enough yet, the only choice the Hayatas can make is obvious, albeit somewhat inconvenient. Once it's as bright as it's ever going to be outside, Rui and I hold hands as we explore the abandoned sections of Seto. She insists it's only so we won't get lost, of course. It's not like she likes me or anything, since that would be silly, and she's not silly, unlike me. Eventually, we managed to scavenge a few intact mattresses and blankets, carrying them back to my house, though I guess it's technically our house now. Rui's parents insist that she and I sleep in the same room, suggesting that I be there for her in case she has a bad dream and needs someone to comfort her. But I know they're watching us through the floorboards, anticipating the arrival of their first grandchild. No, we are children, and that is your child. No, bad. Ew. You're not getting a grandchild if they know that you're watching them through the floorboards. When they ask about it, I tell them what she told me. That she, quote, would rather climb a barbed wire fence covered with lemon juice than let one of those fetus things take over her body. The choice bearing children. In reality, living with her is much the same as when she used to visit my hospital room. Don't know why my brain broke there. Only that she has to change clothes sometimes and seems to enjoy kicking me out of my own room whenever she does. Not much changes after that. The old Hayata house, now transformed into a medical clinic, gets working electricity and water, and finally opens, and the townspeople are glad to now have some doctors around, but that's about it. My parents continue working at their restaurant, serving noodles. Noodle bowls to hungry farmers and off-duty soldiers, and Rui's parents practice medicine using whatever supplies the local military base can spare. As for Rui and I, we take whatever work we can find: general store clerk, waiter, janitor, farmhand, assistant technician, you name it. Rui seems to enjoy working at the local daycare and sometimes talks about wanting to adopt one of the orphans there once she's older. When I ask why, she says she doesn't want to let any child children in the town grow up without some kind of family. And all things considered, I probably should have seen that one coming. Rui may have changed somewhat since I met her, but she's still Rui. Eventually, I decide to start working full-time at the vegetable farm owned by our next-door neighbors, the Oikawas. The job is secure, and even though using sharp tools still makes me nauseous, Rui is usually around to place a hand on my shoulder and remind me that nothing bad will happen and that we're just growing crops to help feed the hungry. Oh yeah, she works here now too. I constantly pester her with jokes about plowing and fertilizing, and she gets back at me by teaching her unofficial kids at the daycare to call me Pharma Ishimoto. Even though she's usually working on the farm with me, we spend the weekends visiting said kids, getting teased by them, and like all good parents, helping them avoid needlessly traumatic experiences. What nice people. When Rui isn't around, I regularly keep my intrusive thoughts away by climbing into one of the tractors and blasting Mizuki and the Lincolns through its stereo system. Hearing Centrifuge Soul and A Light That Doesn't Matter on repeat generally helps me get through the day. At least I think it helps. When the sun begins to set and the wind blows slightly through the fields, Rui and I pretend to be a variety of interesting but improbable characters, recalling the days when we were smaller and life was simpler. We chase each other through the cornfield as blooming stalks whisper in the breeze, casting their long shadows on the terraced earth and the shimmering water of the irrigation canals we splash each other with. Life is uneventful here, but Rui knows how to turn even the quietest moments into an adventure worth living. So how long is the span of time? Because this is making it sound like it's going on, I'm skipping forward, months, possibly years? It's the same thing that Miki used to do for both of us. We improvise like Akira used to, and we make absolute fools of ourselves as though we were goofing off with Hiko and Misato. But just as I start to accept that our friends may be gone forever, we get news from Isamu, and somehow it's actually good. Yahiko and Airi have apparently become good friends because he helped her pitch an idea for a new video game to Limny Skate's board of directors. As a result, they're now co-directors for the world's first ARLARPG, or augmented reality live action role-playing game. That sounds like fun. I would love that. That sounds very entertaining. Be like Dungeons and Dragons, but like as you. That sounds cool. I am such a nerd. My nerdness has increased. My nerd is showing. Clockwork and creatures, and naturally, it's a Limny Skate site code exclusive. Pokemon would be fun too. That's to those two. Thanks to those two, the gang from the cafe gets back together. Officially, we're beta testers, but unofficially, Saturday becomes game night. Wait, can we safely do this? Like, aren't we supposed to be hiding? And if we do this, won't they be able to ping our location? I bet Natsuki has it figured out. Never mind. Really, that's why I'm going to crack it down to is like Natsuki somehow has made sure they're safe even when they're doing this. Rui and I dust off our headsets since being watched by Limny Skate isn't anything new for us, and enter Eager Metropolis once again. Now this time, it's as if we're standing right there, along with all our friends. Since an AI is responsible for creating the adventures now, Airi joins us. AI is taking over everything. Airi joins us as a technomancer, a necro-robotic machinist who summons the legendary cog-like Baku blades, letting them rip explosively against all manner of foes. That sounds cool. Kind of like a, I don't know if the Dungeons and Dragons terms is, but it's like a robot, but you're a necromancer and you smoosh them together, and like you have blades of necrotic magic. wrapped in probably electricity. Whatever that means. I assume is what that said. We don't really ask about Isamu. From what we know, it's on the verge of being declared an independent state, and Mayor Inori's politics will, while concerning, are gradually becoming more isolationist. This feels like it's hitting a little close to home. And you know, that is the thing of this game. It does hit a spot where you're like, He stated that he doesn't want to go to war with anyone, and Limniscape and Way Forward both seem to share that sentiment. They're using economic pressures to keep things peaceful in Isamu, which is good, but I still try to avoid thinking about that horrible, overgrown tumor of a city whenever I'm able to. When I do think about it, though, it's thankfully sequestered in the very back of my mind. Feels too real. What I think about most of the time, what I want to think about, are my friends. Like all good friends, we do things together, and we make sure everyone is okay. And when Rui and I have to take off our headsets and go to bed because of Misato's curfew, we both go to bed a little happier. When she climbs into bed, Rui shakes a little less and rarely ever wakes up screaming in the middle of the night anymore. When I do, though, Rui is always there. The sound of her voice calms me down, and she sets... When I do, though, Rui's always there. The sound of her voice calms me down, and she lets me rest my head in her lap, where she strokes my hair and tells me that everything's okay now, or at the very least, I will be okay soon. I don't believe her, but I believe in the intent behind her words. In a literal sense, every platitude she offers is hollow and devoid of comfort, but when I hear them delivered by her calm, kind, and still slightly shaky voice, I'm reminded of the unspoken promise we've made. We promised to protect one another, and it was a promise we sealed with blood, pain, and time. Words would be redundant now, perhaps even insulting. But life already took care of that, and we paid back our debt to life with interest. As long as neither of us is gone, I can look up at her and genuinely take a break from worrying about my future. I don't feel the need to force myself into stagnation or to take on some impossible task just so I can feel good about myself. I see Rui's deliberately serene smile and her warm amber eyes looking down at me, and I feel assured that I can just exist. She doesn't even get angry whenever I accidentally see a purse shirt. Okay, that's a very Yama thing. It's a very touching moment. He's like, yeah, she doesn't even get mad when I see pervy. And that is kind of the thing that you want in your partner. It's just someone who can let you be, let you exist, let you breathe. I've also noticed that she stopped making me leave the room whenever she has to get changed. I still get slapped if I look, but I suppose that's fair. Wait, really? I had no idea that Oban lasted for an entire month here. Rui, why are we bouncing? Rui sets her strawberry bubble tea down on the bar counter in front of her, making room so she can gesture with both hands while bouncing in her seat. I'm bouncing too. It's just immersing myself. I'm not sure when she started doing that, but it's cute and it makes me smile. So I haven't said anything to her about it. You didn't know Seto celebrates the month of Oban? That's like the one thing that gets tourists to come here.
Wow! A whole month just for Oban? Think of the games, and the drums, and the lanterns, and all the deep fried corn on a stick we'll get to eat.
That's the thing? Deep fried corn on the stick? Not like funnel cake or... funnel cake. Those potatoes that like the spiral potatoes, those things, that's good. You know, that type of stuff. You go for deep fried corn? Is it like a corn dog, but it's just a cob of corn? Which doesn't sound like it would taste bad, but it sounds like it'd be annoying to eat because eating corn on the cob is annoying to eat. I think you're spending too much time on the farm. My mom mentioned the festival and your seasonal snack of choice is a corn cob on a stick.
Well, there are other things I'd like to eat, but I just really like corn.
Please tell me there's going to be corn puns. Please. I need the corn puns. I'm going to be sad if there's no corn puns. Normally I get mad at them when they make the puns, but in this case, I want corn puns. You really like it? Your mind's stuck in a maze of maze. Yes, corn puns. Your mind's stuck in a maze of maze, Rui? Every other sentence that comes out of your mouth is about corn, like an entire corn hub community. I'm going to grow corn. I'm going to harvest the corn. I'm going to boil and pop the corn. I'm going to deep fry the corn on a stick, and I'll even try to stick some raw corn up my...
I don't do that!
Well, you're doing something. Honey, that's enough. Don't be mean to Rui. My mother looks up from... Yama. Were we implying that she was going to stick the corn? I would assume but. By the way, my mother looks up from the martini shaker. For some reason I thought I was going to say the martini that she's drinking. My mother looks up from the martini shaker she's currently washing, hanging it up to dry next to, appropriately enough, an assortment of spirits. She has every right to be excited. The Oikawas had a record harvest, and if it wasn't for her, our house wouldn't have a year's supply of food in the cellar. Yeah, a year's supply of corn. Hey, it's a great band. She only rolls her eyes at this, turning to Rui with a towel slouching over her shoulder, and her bow tie, tilted slightly off angle. What is it with the men here? Why are they so obsessed with corn?
Ask your son. He's the one who won't shut up about it.
All right, jeez. I'll talk about something else. Even I'm smart enough to know those jokes weren't amazing anyone. Not even in a corny way. So bad, but I love it. Rui grumbles and stares back down at her bubble tea, too disappointed in my attempts to crack wise, to clap back with even the slightest hint of sass. With my comedic prospects well and truly obliterated, I have no choice but to change the subject. I feel like you're getting a little too excited about Oban. Aren't we supposed to focus on honoring the dead?
Yeah, with the understanding that the dead would want us to be... Yeah, with the understanding that the dead wouldn't want us to be quiet and miserable in their honor. I thought the delicious food and carnival games made that obvious.
I sigh and try to bury my annoyance, taking a deep breath and sip from the can of Diet Cola in my hand. Why Diet Cola? I mean, I guess he doesn't need like maybe he doesn't need the sugar, but no. No, I get it. You have a point. Celebrating life and all that whoop-de freaking woohoo. I raise both hands, rotating my wrists back and forth. Woohoo. Woohoo. With extreme unenthusiasm. In response, Rui's face falls into a disheartened, listless frown, and I start to be a little less acerbic for her sake. No, but I think it's a genuinely good and healthy thing to do. It's just hard to remember good things once they've ended badly, you know? Rui nods.
Yeah. More than I'd like to. But maybe that's why you're not supposed to go to the festival alone. You go with someone you care about, and you work together to help each other remember the good things. Even if forgetting the bad things is kind of impossible.
I chuckle weakly, taking another sip of my Diet Cola. That's certainly one of the nicer ways to put it. Maybe if I concentrated hard enough, I can use the placebo effect to turn this stuff into mental alcohol. Probably not, but I'm glad Rui bothered to soften that wholesome remark of hers with a splish and a splash of realism. Considering how much she prefers to stick to the bright side of everything, it's a genuinely selfless thing to do. Since Mizu died, genuine positivity has always rubbed me the wrong way. It fills me with a mixture of dread for whatever horrors the future holds and a hateful envy of anyone who goes through life completely ignorant of those horrors. Every silver lining has a cloud, and silver happens to be an excellent conductor, in my opinion. You're better off not reaching for one until the storm is over. That is, if it even ends at all.
Rui's right, honey. Celebrating the dead is an important part of Oban. But if you're not in the mood, There are other things you can celebrate as well.
How about myself? My mother presses her lips together, nods, and looks down, knowing full well that the best response to a comment like that is just to listen. She must have picked that up while mixing drinks for the town's dead-enders, because I doubt I gave her any chance to learn it from me. Ruby, on the other hand, looks absolutely disgusted and horrified by what I've just said. It gives her so much pause that for a moment she even stops trembling.
You want to celebrate yourself during a festival for the dead?
What? I'm going to die one of these days. Might as well toast to the time I've got left.
Oh, thank God. That's what you meant.
Well, we'll end the episode here. We'll get to see Oban. Also, I have to say, it's a pretty nice restaurant. And I like that I can see the other buildings out the window. And I know some of the art is like from the game and some of it is done by AI, but that doesn't mean I can't compliment the effort. But yeah. We'll see how Ryoma makes things sadder. I know there's more corn puns! More corn puns! More corn puns! I love me some amazing corny corn puns. Yeah, I will see you next time.